And welcome back to Mindset Monday. I'm Gene Zanetti, your coast-to-coast mindset coach from Winning Mindset. Our lesson today is one of the greatest success lessons that I could really think of. My wife and I were actually talking about this yesterday. Now, my background, I'm a former nationally ranked all Ivy League wrestler. Her background, she's got her doctorate in genetics at Columbia University. Okay, so the two of us were able to get things done at a pretty high level. So a lot of times we talk about what are some of the secrets of success, and how do you become successful? What lessons we'd want to pass on to our children and to other people. And the thing we were talking about yesterday was being a real hustler and go-getter, being proactive with our thinking, being proactive with asking for help. Anyone who's gone to grad school knows that me with my 2 master's degrees, her with her doctorate. You realize you have to be really on your horse. You got to be active thinking. You got to be thinking several steps ahead. You got to be able to zoom out and look at the big picture, and then you got to be able to zoom in and look at the little micro details. Make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's and your lowercase j's. So again, the point is you got to be very, very thorough. You have to know what the teacher is looking for. So we were talking about some of our keys of success there, and it's making sure some of the things that we did, making sure you go into your teacher or your professor or whoever and finding out exactly what it is they're looking for. Is this what you're looking for? Going to your writing center, utilizing the resources that are around you. Now, this applies exactly to sports. In sports, a simple way that you could be successful, even without a lot of talent, is being a go-getter, being a hustler, being willing to ask questions. I strongly recommend that to everyone. Be the person, because this takes no skill. All this takes is effort on your part, and it's a choice that you could make now, and it's a choice you want to make throughout your life. Always ask for help. Always ask yourself, who can I get this information from? And also ask, where can I find this information? Is it Google? Is it Wikipedia? Is it YouTube? Is it asking a friend? And also sometimes you have to know what friends are good with what information. Everyone cannot be an expert on everything. This might be your go-to person for this. That person might be your go-to person for that. The other person might be your go-to person for someone else. So you have to get really good at knowing, where can I find this? Where can I find the answer to this question? Who has this question? Who has the answer? Okay, where can I find this answer? And asking questions. Be a go-getter. Be a hustler. You could beat probably 7 or 8 out of 10 people, 7 to 8 out of 10 of your competition. You could beat them just based on hustling alone, just based on this kind of principle. Ask questions. So in practice, you're the person who stays after and asks the coach questions. Be willing to walk up to some of your teammates who do a good move or a good technique or a good strategy. Hey, how did you do that? Let me try this. Am I doing this wrong? And you try the skill or drill in front of that person and see where they could correct you. So the idea is looking at people and saying, okay, everyone's skilled at something. This is a good mindset. Everyone's skilled at something. Okay, what can I learn from this person? What does this person do well that I could learn from them? And then you take that piece from them. You might discard everything else, but you take that little piece from them, and that's now a gold nugget of information. And then you say, okay, this person must be skilled at something. What are they good at? You learn that little piece of information, you might discard the rest. And now that's a gold nugget of information. Just like that. But being a hustler, being a go-getter, being willing to ask questions. The phrase, real men don't ask for directions, that's crazy. That's ridiculous. That person's probably lost a lot of the time, and they spend a lot of anger and frustration in that. If you want to be highly successful, you have to ask questions. You have to go out of your way. You have to stay after for extra help. You got to get a tutor. You got to get help when you need it. You got to know, when are you struggling? And when you're struggling, what do you need? What do you need? Do you need a therapist? Do you need a strength coach? Do you need a nutrition coach? Do you need a mindset coach? You probably need all of them, right? But who can you go to for this information? So you have to be willing to go out of your way to find a lot of these things. You got to be able to zoom in at the little micro details for your techniques, your drills, like making sure you're doing all these little things right. And then the other time you got to zoom out and you got to say, okay, don't spend too much time in the weeds. Focus on what you need the most. Assessing, doing a needs analysis. What do I need? If it's English, do a needs analysis. What is it? Is it vocabulary? Is it writing? Is it reading? Okay, it's writing. Well, is it pre-writing? Is it coming up with supportive evidence for whatever case you're making in your essay? Is it having a stronger conclusion? Is it using better, stronger vocabulary, transitions. What is it? Is it punctuation? You have to find out. The more specific you are, the better answers you're going to be able to get. And then maybe it is pre-writing. Okay, so now you say, okay, who is good at pre-writing? Maybe you ask a few friends. Be willing to ask 5 or 6 people, and then eventually you come to the answer. I remember going for my master's degree. I didn't know how to use a program for statistics, and I was in my master's program, so this was my 7th year of college, something like that. And I remember going, I'm in the library, one person to the next, to the next, to the next. Hey, do you know how to use this program? No. Do you know how to use this program? Now, I didn't know if they were undergrads. I didn't know if they were grad students. Didn't matter to me. Do you know how to use this program? No. Do you know how to use this program? No. Do you know how to do this program? No. And then 9th or 10th person, yes, they know how to do that program. Well, guess what? Now I'm getting the help that I need, and I'm not stressing out over it. So don't spend a lot of time on why. Spend more time on the how. In other words, don't ask yourself questions like, why me? Why is this taking so long? You know, the poor kind of questions. Instead, spend 90% of your time on the solution and only 10% of your time on the problem. That doesn't mean don't focus on the problem, because you need to focus on the problem sometimes for a little while just to understand where you're going wrong. Maybe you're repeating the same mistake over and over again, but once you learn, you got to zoom back out. You can't get stuck in the weeds there. You figure out the answer. Get the help. So being a hustler and go-getter. If you're a coach, if you're a teacher, you'd do a great job. You'd do a great service to your athletes and to your students if you encourage them to ask questions, to be a go-getter, to be a hustler, to even set up things in the classroom, set up incentives, not just to get the good grade, but to speak up, to ask for help, to figure it out. Get good at figuring it out. That's what a lot of college is. That's what a lot of grad school is. That's what a lot of life is. You don't have the answers always readily available. You got to figure it out. So get good at figuring it out. And I could tell you that hard people to work with are people who are not proactive, people who aren't good at thinking for themselves, people who aren't good with inferences. Okay? I see it in our business all the time. The people that we want to keep around are people who are proactive, people who are going out of their way. They're making inferences. They're not excuse makers. They spend 90% of their time on the solution. Those people are a joy to work with. Those people are a joy to be around. Those are also people who are a joy to have as your significant other. If you've ever dated someone who's not a proactive thinker, doesn't make inferences, doesn't think outside the box, you realize that's going to be pretty hard. You've probably dated someone like that in the past where you just have to tell them every little thing. And I'm not saying you don't communicate. Of course, you want to communicate all your needs and all this stuff. But if you have someone who's also not trying to connect the dots on their own and they don't have an active mind, it's going to be hard. I mean, probably some of your friends, some of your family that you get frustrated with the most, it's lazy thinking a lot of times, not figuring out a way to get it done. Oh, I didn't know how to do this. It's, well, read the instructions. You don't know how to cook this? Read the back of it. Like, you got to figure, we're probably, fairly intelligent people here. You could figure out how to cook something on the stove or cook something in the stove, right? You'd be able to figure it out. Putting together, sometimes now, as a new dad, you're putting together a lot of things. And I'm not Mr. Handy at all. I'm not a Mr. Fix-It. That's not my normal, that's not my natural gifts. But you have to say to yourself, okay, I'm a pretty intelligent individual. I could figure this out. And it's not even about being intelligent. It's more about, I'll take the time. I'll be patient. I will figure it out. Spending 10% of your time on the problem, 90% of your time on the solution. And if you can't figure out the instructions of how to assemble the children's toy, okay, I don't know how to do it. Is there anyone in the house that could help me? Is there a friend? Is there a neighbor? Can I ask this person? Oh, no, they're not around? How about YouTube? Maybe I could find it on YouTube. Maybe I could look it up on Google. You could figure out how to do something. Like, you can't tell me that if there was a chicken in the refrigerator, you can't figure out how to cook it. With Google now, with YouTube, you got to be kidding me. You could figure out how to cook something. You could do it. You could learn how to assemble a children's toy, even a very complex swing set, if you're willing to take the time, be a go-getter, ask for help. Maybe you got to knock on a neighbor's door. Maybe you got to call up. Maybe you got to phone a friend, right? You have lifelines in life. That's a very important thing. Understand that you have lifelines. And for me, that's why I always thought Facebook was a very big deal. And I always collected friends. What I mean by that is whenever I met someone, I would friend them on Facebook. Why? To me, I always viewed that as a source of wealth. First of all, I like people. I like staying in touch with people. Also, you never know when you're going to need someone. Okay, and they might need you. And that's why I always try to say, make sure you're always a giver. If someone asks for your help, if it's within your power to do it, and it's not like massively inconvenient and like you have to go too far out of your, if it's a reasonable request, you should grant any reasonable request that anyone comes to you with. Why wouldn't you? Be a helpful person. And if you do that, you tend to see what goes around comes around. Life tends to be a mirror reflection of what you put out to life. Okay, so ask for help. I could tell you when we started expanding to different sports. We started with the sport of wrestling, and we expanded to other sports. Who did I rely on to help me put together these different sports? Well, this friend was in my class this year of college. This friend was in my grad school class here. And this person happened to be an athlete of this sport. This person had to be an athlete of that sport. This one was the captain of the field hockey team or lacrosse team. And now, lo and behold, we were able to put together the mindset worksheets and exercises with experts because I had spent my time, well, not all my time, but I spent a lot of time collecting friends. So Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, those kind of things, when you meet people, connecting with them on LinkedIn and these different things, that's absolutely a form of wealth because now you have more people inside your network and you're more likely to find a job too. This is true with studies. You're more likely to find a job, the strength of weak ties. It's not usually someone who you're really close with. It's a loose connection, all right? That's where you could swing deals in business. That's where you could get into a certain school, get a certain job, learn how to find out this technique. So think outside the box. Be willing to ask questions. Be hungry. And be the person who does take the extra step. Stay after practice. Ask for help. Look it up on YouTube. Look it up on Wikipedia. Google videos, Google images. Look for diagrams. Ask people who can, if you spend your time on the solution, trying to find the solution, you're going to save your frustration and you're going to get the answer most of the time. Most of the time. So get on your horse. Start asking questions. Be the person that's willing to hustle. Again, if you're a coach, a teacher, or a parent, make sure you reward your students, your children, your athletes for the hustle, for taking an extra step, being proactive, making connections, trying to make connections, even if they're not successful. Okay, they tried going to the writing center. They tried YouTubing the video. They tried asking a friend. They tried asking an older sibling. Like, that's a good thing. You want to reward that because in life, that's how that person's going to be successful. People get into lower areas of their life when they get stuck in the problem and they say, oh, I'll never be able to do it. Yeah, you know what? Maybe right now you can't do it, but YouTube could tell you how to do it. A friend can tell you how to do it. You could figure it out. So get good at figuring it out. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to, use your resources. We live in an information age that's unprecedented now that no one has ever experienced. Use your phone for good. Don't just mess around with it. Take your time, get the answers, be a hustler, be a go-getter. It's one of the keys to success, but it's on you. You got to be able to do it. Good news is no one's stopping you. That's 100% on you. Mindset makes the difference.